I never thought concrete walls and metal bars would lead me to love. They said I was worthless, a number in the system destined to rot away forgotten. But one man saw past my prison uniform, past my mistakes, past my skin color. This is my story of impossible love. Before I share my story with you, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you think you know about second chances, love, and redemption. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and let's begin this journey together. You ready? Let's go. My name is Tiana, and 5 years ago, I was living in South Chicago with my baby girl, Aaliyah. She was 6 years old, all bright eyes and big dreams, asking me every night when things would get better. I was working 2 jobs, barely keeping the lights on. Morning shift at the diner, evening shift at the gas station. I'd come home smelling like grease and gasoline, and my baby would already be asleep. My mama had passed 2 years before, and Aliyah's father? He disappeared before she even learned to walk. It was just us against the world, and honestly, the world was winning. I remember the bills piling up on our kitchen table like some kind of horrible tower. Electric bill, water bill, rent that was already 2 months late. I was juggling everything, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and still coming up short. But I kept pushing because that's what mothers do. We don't get the luxury of giving up. Every morning I'd wake up at 4:30, kiss my sleeping baby, and tell myself today would be different. Today I'd figure it out. Then Aaliyah got sick. Started with a cough, then a fever that wouldn't break. I took her to the emergency room and they said she had pneumonia, needed antibiotics, needed medicine I couldn't afford. No insurance, no savings, no options. I stood in that pharmacy looking at a prescription that cost $200 and I had $37 to my name. I called everyone I knew. Nobody had it. You ever felt that kind of helpless? Where you'd do anything, sell anything, become anything to save your child? That's when my cousin called. He said he needed help moving some packages, just driving, nothing complicated. $500 for one night. I knew. Deep down, I knew it wasn't legal. But I didn't ask questions because I didn't want to know the answers. I just needed that money. I needed my baby to breathe. So I said yes. One time I told myself, just this once and then never again. The police were waiting at the drop-off spot. Turns out my cousin had been under surveillance for months. I was just the fool who got caught in the net. I remember the officer's voice saying, "You have the right to remain silent," while my whole world collapsed. They put my hands in cuffs and all I could think about was Aaliyah. Who was going to pick her up from school? Who was going to make her dinner? Who was going to tell her that Mama made a mistake? The public defender told me to take the plea deal. Fight it and risk 15 years or plead guilty and get 5. 5 years. Aaliyah would be 11 when I got out. I'd miss her losing her first tooth, her first day of middle school, her becoming a whole different person. But what choice did I have? I signed the papers, and just like that, I became inmate number 84,729. The day I arrived at that correctional facility, they stripped everything away. My clothes, my dignity, my name. I became a number. They handed me a uniform that smelled like industrial detergent and hundreds of women who wore it before me. My cell was 8 by 10 feet of concrete and despair. A metal bed, a metal toilet, and a small window that showed nothing but grey sky and barbed wire. My cellmate was this older woman named Cookie who'd been locked up for 12 years. She took one look at me crying on that first night and said, "Cry it out tonight, baby. Tomorrow you gotta be strong." That first phone call home broke me. Aaliyah's voice, so small and scared, asking, "When you coming home, Mama?" I tried to explain, tried to make her understand, but how do you tell your 6-year-old that Mama's not coming home for 5 years? 2 weeks later, I found out she'd been placed in foster care. Nobody in my family could take her. That news hit me harder than the cell door slamming shut ever did. Life inside became a blur. Wake up at 5 in the morning for count. Work detail in the laundry room, washing sheets and uniforms for 23 cents an hour. Breakfast was cold oatmeal or powdered eggs. Lunch was mystery meat. Dinner was whatever they decided we deserved that day. The noise never stopped. Women crying, guards yelling, metal doors clanging. You never have a moment of true silence or true privacy. You're always being watched, always being counted, always being reminded that you're not human anymore. You're just a number. I tried to stay connected to Alia. I'd write her letters every week, draw little pictures in the margins, tell her how much I loved her. At first, she wrote back. Her handwriting was shaky and misspelled, but it was everything to me. Then the letters started coming less often. Once a month, then every few months. Her foster family seemed nice enough from what she said, but I could feel her slipping away from me. What hurts worse than being separated from your child? Feeling them forget you. 3 years in, I got the letter that destroyed me. The adoption papers. Her foster family wanted to adopt her, and honestly, they could give her everything I couldn't. Stability, 2 parents, a house with a yard, a good school. I knew I should sign those papers, let her have the life she deserved, but signing them felt like admitting I wasn't her mother anymore. I broke down in my cell that night, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. The guards walked past like they didn't even hear me. To them, I was just another inmate having another breakdown. Nothing special. I thought about ending it all, seriously considered it. What was the point of going on? I'd lost my daughter, lost my freedom, lost any hope of a future. Cookie found me at my lowest point, sitting on my bed, staring at nothing. She sat down next to me and said, "Girl, you gotta find something to hold on to. Even if it's small, even if it's just getting through today." So I started writing. Poetry mostly. All the pain and anger and grief pouring out onto paper. Then I signed up for the prison education program. Not because I believed it would change anything, but because I needed something to fill the empty hours between lockdowns. That's when everything changed. The prison announced a new rehabilitation program. Some local business owner was starting a job training initiative, teaching us real skills we could use on the outside. I was skeptical. I'd seen programs come and go, watched volunteers show up once or twice then disappear when reality hit them. But I had nothing to lose, so I signed up. On the first day of class, they told us we'd be learning business management basics. I almost laughed. What business was going to hire a felon? Then he walked in, Christopher Hayes. I'd heard the name before, seen it in the news. Tech billionaire, built his company from nothing, worth more money than I could imagine. But he wasn't what I expected. He wore regular jeans and a simple button-up shirt, and when he looked at us, he didn't look through us the way most people did. He actually saw us. He introduced himself, told us why he started this program. His younger brother had struggled with addiction, ended up dying from an overdose while in county jail. Christopher said he started this program to honor him, to help people get real second chances. The way he taught was different from any teacher I'd ever had. He asked us questions about our lives, our dreams, what we wanted to build when we got out. Most people don't ask inmates about their dreams, they just see criminals. But Christopher listened, really listened, like our answers mattered. When it came to my turn to share, I was honest. Told him about Aaliyah, about the mistake I made, about feeling like my life was over before it really started. He didn't flinch, didn't judge, he just nodded and said, "Your past doesn't define your future. What you do next, that's what matters." Those weekly classes became the only thing I looked forward to. Christopher remembered little details I mentioned in passing, brought books he thought I'd like, stayed after class to answer questions. Then he started doing one-on-one mentoring sessions. We'd sit in the prison library talking about business and life and second chances. He told me more about his brother, how he wished he'd done more to help him. I could see the pain in his eyes, the regret. That's when I realized this wasn't some rich man's charity project. This was personal for him. 6 months into the program, I was the top student in the class. But more than that, I was feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. And something else I definitely wasn't supposed to feel. Every time Christopher walked into that room, my heart would beat faster. Every time he smiled at me, I'd smile back without even meaning to. The other inmates noticed. Cookie pulled me aside one day and said, "Girl, be careful with your heart. That's a dangerous road you're walking." She was right, of course. Everything about it was impossible. He was a billionaire. I was an inmate. He was white. I was black. The world outside those walls wouldn't understand, wouldn't accept it. His family, his friends, his business associates. And what could I even offer him? A woman with a record, with nothing to her name, who couldn't even be a mother to her own daughter. But feelings don't follow logic. Feelings don't care about obstacles. They just are. One week, Christopher missed class. No explanation, no word. I was devastated, and that's when I knew I was in trouble. When someone's absence can break your whole day, you're not just grateful for their help anymore. You've caught feelings. The next visit, he handed me a letter. Said to read it when I was alone. I waited until lockdown that night, hands shaking as I opened it. "Tiana," it started. "I know this is complicated. I know all the reasons why this doesn't make sense, but I can't stop thinking about you. Your strength inspires me. Your spirit captivates me. I see the woman you are, not the mistakes you made. I want to be there when you get out. I want to see where this goes. If you'll let me." I cried reading that letter. But they weren't the desperate tears I'd cried for 3 years. These were different. These were tears of hope, tears of possibility, tears of feeling seen for the first time since I put on this uniform. I wrote him back that same night. Told him I was scared, told him all the reasons it wouldn't work, told him I understood if he changed his mind. But then I wrote the truth. "I'm willing to try, if you are." Things moved slowly after that, carefully. Prison has rules about relationships. We couldn't be physical, couldn't even hold hands. But we had conversations. Deep, real conversations about life and love and what we wanted from the future. He told me about growing up wealthy but lonely. I told him about growing up poor but surrounded by love until I lost it. We were from different worlds, but somehow we understood each other. Then he did something that changed everything. He hired the best lawyer in the state to review my case. Started working on getting my sentence reduced. With my good behavior, completed programs, and his lawyer's arguments, I got an appeal hearing. They granted early release. 6 months. I'd be out in 6 months. But Christopher wasn't just working on the legal side. He was preparing for my future. Had a job lined up at his company. Had an apartment arranged. And most importantly, he was working to help me reconnect with Aaliyah. The adoption had gone through, but he'd contacted her family, explained everything, asked if I could at least see her. They said yes. My last morning in that cell, Cookie hugged me tight. "You go out there and live, baby. Live for all of us who can't." Walking through those gates after 4 years was surreal. The sunlight felt too bright, the air too fresh. And there he was, Christopher, waiting outside in jeans and a t-shirt, no security, no cameras. Just him. I walked into his arms and cried like a child. "Thank you for seeing me," I whispered. "Thank you for letting me," he said back. The first few months out were harder than I expected. Starting work at his company, proving myself every day, not telling anyone about my past. Having real dates with Christopher, meeting his mother who tried her best to be kind even though I could see the questions in her eyes. Going to therapy twice a week to deal with trauma I didn't even know I had. But the hardest and most beautiful thing was the day I met Aaliyah again. She was 10 years old, almost as tall as me. She didn't run to me. She stood back, uncertain. Her adoptive mother was kind, gave us space. I knelt down and told Aaliyah I was sorry. Sorry for leaving, sorry for missing so much, sorry for everything. She looked at me with those same bright eyes and said, "Are you going to leave again?" I promised her I wouldn't. It's taken time, supervised visits every week, building trust brick by brick, but we're getting there. A year later, my life is unrecognizable. I got promoted at work, Christopher and I are still together, still figuring it out, still facing judgment, but not caring as much anymore. Aaliyah calls me sometimes just to talk, not mama yet, but maybe someday. I speak at prisons now, telling women like me that their story isn't over, that mistakes don't define you, that love can find you even in the darkest places. People ask me if Christopher saved me, and I tell them no. He believed in me, yes. He helped me, yes. But I saved myself. He just reminded me I was worth saving. This journey taught me that second chances are real, that love doesn't see walls or skin color or bank accounts. Love sees souls. And sometimes, in the most impossible circumstances, two souls find each other and decide to fight for something beautiful. If my story touched your heart, I need you to do 3 things right now. 1. Hit that like button and subscribe because I share my journey every week. 2. Comment below and tell me, do you believe in second chances? Have you ever felt hopeless but found hope? Share your story. And 3. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who's going through darkness and needs to know light is coming. Together we're stronger. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, your mistakes don't define you, your comeback does.